and he wants to involve the future settlement of Gaza. What is to be done with this place that is totally destroyed? Can he enlist other Middle Eastern allies to help to rebuild Gaza as part of a settlement that leads towards his long-term goal, which is to get Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel? And that's the real tough one. That's the one that he thinks might win him the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, let's talk about Benjamin Netanyahu, who's travelled to America to meet Donald Trump. Before he left Israel, he laid out some of his hopes for the meeting.
The decisions we made in the war have already changed the face of the Middle East. Our decisions and the courage of our soldiers have redrawn the map. But I believe that working closely with President Trump, we can redraw it even further and for the better. I believe that we can strengthen security, broaden the circle of peace, and achieve a remarkable era of peace through strength. Thank you very much.
It's now talk to Sarah Baxter, the director of the Marie Colvin Centre for International Reporting, on the line live stateside. Hello to you, Sarah.
Hello, John.
Always welcome, Sarah. Tell me, what is your take on what you think Donald Trump wants from this meeting today with Netanyahu?
Well, it is his first meeting with a foreign leader, and there's a reason for that. The Middle East is the most important crucible where Donald Trump had a notable foreign policy success in his last administration with the Abraham Accords. But this time, things are going to be a lot tougher, and it might take his entire presidency to really start moving things forward and getting to the sort of settlement he wants. Now, Donald Trump is in a strong position. Bibi Netanyahu is in a weaker position, assailed on all sides from the right by hardliners who want him to pursue the war in Gaza to the last Hamas warrior. And of course, if the war actually comes to an end, which is what Donald Trump wants as swiftly as possible, Netanyahu's own position as PM might be imperiled.
Yes.
Donald Trump holds all the cards right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's worth saying at the outset that if you've got high hopes of some sort of breakthrough, certainly in the direction of peace, then maybe you need to tone those expectations down. But certainly from Netanyahu's point of view, just being the first foreign leader in the Oval Office in this second Trump term and being sure, because there will be a show of muscular support from Donald Trump, who's, after all, he's resumed deliveries of heavy American bombs. He's lifted sanctions on Israeli settlers responsible for violence against Palestinians. That in itself is a significant gain for Netanyahu to take home.
Yes, and they're going to have a joint press conference as well, where they're no doubt going to say extremely warm words about each other and tough words about the enemy. Now, there are short-term and long-term plans. For Donald Trump, he wants the ceasefire deal to keep moving forward, and he wants to involve the future settlement of Gaza. What is to be done with this place that is totally destroyed? Can he enlist other Middle Eastern allies to help to rebuild Gaza as part of a settlement that leads towards his long-term goal, which is to get Saudi Arabia to recognize Israel? And that's the real tough one. That's the one that he thinks might win him the Nobel Peace Prize in the end.
Yeah.
But of course, Saudi Arabia says, well, there has to be a Palestinian state before we can recognize Israel. So there's so many complicated moves. And within all that, there's another question as well as to what is to be done about Iran, which is currently weak and reeling from the loss of some of its allies. Some hawks in Israel, possibly Netanyahu himself, sees this as the strategic moment to launch a really fearsome strike on its nuclear facilities. But does Donald Trump want to escalate war in the Middle East like that? He certainly talked stuff about Iran. That will be quiet negotiations, I think. We won't necessarily hear the outcome of that.
Yeah,
but we'll hear what's to happen with what they hope will happen in Gaza in the short term.
Yeah, when it comes to Iran, maybe we just need to watch for that can to be kicked further down the road. And what about Donald Trump's suggestion, it was just a week or two ago, that Palestinians could be relocated to Egypt and Jordan? It always seemed pretty implausible. Do you think he's given up on that, Sarah?
No, I don't, because his officials this morning said that, that Donald Trump regards Gaza as a demolition site and that it's going to be a 10 to 15-year plan to rebuild it. What is to be done meantime with the Gazans, who are naturally very concerned about experiencing a second Nakba, where they leave where they've been housed, go to a second country where they may never return, from which never return. So this is definitely one of the most complicated problems of the Trump presidency, and I think, but one that he's very eager to get his teeth into right from the start, as you can see by meeting Netanyahu today.
Right. Can I just shift our attention to Congress, Capitol Hill, where it's just been happening before we came on air. The Senate Finance Committee have voted 14-13 in favour of allowing Robert F. Kennedy's a bid to be the Health Secretary of the United States in the Trump cabinet to proceed. What did you make of that?
Well, what we make of that is, as in everything else, including relations with global leaders, Donald Trump is master of his universe at the moment. And there were certain holdouts who thought, some people thought might never agree to the idea of putting an anti-vaccine person at the head of the health department, that is, RFK Jr. But Bill Cassidy, a senator who's actually a doctor, folded. And has now said that the nomination can go through. Now, that's a key Republican giving his assent very reluctantly to RFK's appointment. Now, he says he's been given serious assurances regarding vaccines, but, he also had a very honest talk, he described it, with J.D. Vance, the vice president, at the weekend, which may have persuaded him. When you say that, when we hear the words very honest, did J.D. Vance just tell him, get real, mate? Or or did he offer genuine assurances?
Yeah.
This morning, Trump has been tweeting or posting on Truth Social about the dangers of vaccines and autism, or at least that there's something wrong there. So he seems to like Robert Kennedy's somewhat esoteric views.
Yeah. I mean, does that mean, in a word, it's got through this stage, it's got to go to the full Senate on the floor. Is it going to sail through there?
Well, sail through is the wrong word. There are always going to be people who are going to mutter about their consciences, but it may turn out to be very much like the confirmation of Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, and ultimately go through with a very, very few holdouts. I mean, it will still be a tense vote. It's not in the bag. But this vote by the Senate Finance Committee to push through the nomination is key to RF Kennedy Jr. confirmation.
So I would now like to introduce the Prime Minister of Israel, who's worked so hard on this, Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you.
In the Middle East, we drink water before a long voyage. This is an extraordinary voyage. President Trump, Donald, I'm honored to be here today, along with my wife, Sarah, Minister Yariv Levin, Ambassador Ron Dermer. Ron, thank you for everything you've been doing.